Hey guys, in this powerful conversation with Jori O'Neale, who is an author, a coach, and a storytelling midwife, we talk about the beauty of surrender, raising bold kids, navigating motherhood and business, and how owning your story can set you and others free. Hey guys, welcome to a With Friends episode of Unjuggle the Struggle. Today I am so excited to have a woman who I get to call friend on here. This is the show-stopping, the soulful storytelling and writing powerhouse, Miss Jori O'Neale. Thank you so much for being here today.
Wow, such a wonderful introduction. Thank you. I was like, who else she got in here? Because
Oh, girl, I'm not done yet. Okay, I'm not done yet. So, guys, Jori, she is a 10-time published author, including 2 bestsellers, founder of Creatives United, CEO of IYH Entertainment, and just I will tell you, I've only known this woman for a very short amount of time, but her superpower, she's got many, but one of her superpowers is what she can do with helping other people pull out their stories and just the use of words and impact. And it's just really so beautiful. So, Jori, before we get into our normal like format of the With Friends episode, which is where we'll talk about something that you're juggling right now, because we all are. So we've got some stuff there, and then we'll talk about the thing that you definitely have unjuggled, and you've got some tips for the listener and all of the things. So before we jump into that, who are we, like, besides this bio, okay, that I kind of already gave, who are we actually talking to today?
you are talking to a very imperfect human. You're talking to a woman who's experienced pain and hurt and struggle and shame and who was bullied and became a bully. You're talking to a person who has experienced loss, both of loved ones as well as children. You are talking to a person who has navigated very rough parts of life, and who's found joy on the other side of them with the Lord. So that
Mm.
is, I think that encapsulates who you're speaking to. I have a lot of energy. I am 18-year comedic veteran. I've been writing and performing on stages for over 2 decades. Poetry, rap, dancing, right? Theater. And I think storytelling has been always a part of me. My uncle, God rest his soul, my uncle Fred, he used to say, Jory, tell a story when I was little. And I think that was just like for him to remember my name. Like he was using mnemonics to remember my name because there were a lot of us. Um, and I would always say, Fred, go to bed. I was like, is that what we doing? I'm gonna do it. And so I think just storytelling it's always been there. And I think that's probably why I love the Bible so much
Mm,
because there's so many rich stories in there. Um,
yes.
and so I'm excited to talk about both the areas that I'm juggling, and the areas that I feel like God has helped me really straighten out, and be able to pour into your audience. So let's get into it. Let's do it.
Let's go. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so kind of set the scene for what's going on in your life right now, and that'll kind of set the scene for the pieces that we're unjuggling together.
Okay, so I am mom of four. My oldest is 11. My youngest is just newly turned 6, like a couple weeks ago. I am a former educator, now activator. I
Yes.
spent the last 3 months now learning how to navigate entrepreneurship full time. Thanks to the beautiful
Woo-hoo.
host here, Brittany, who
Woo-hoo.
helped kick me out the nest a little bit. And I was fearful of obeying God's call. So super appreciative of you for that, friend. Um, I am the really like blessed wife of an amazing man. He has dealt with a lot of my shenanigans for a long time, and he still loves me fiercely and is protective and just such a great provider.
Yeah.
I
I
think
know I'm fortunate that both of us have that in common. We've got quite the support system and just good men and especially in this like whole parenting thing. Thank gosh, thank gosh, because yeah, parenting, right? That's the juggle.
it's a hot mess. It's a hot mess.
It's a hot mess. Well, especially with four. I mean, goodness, I complain about two sometimes. And when I say complain, it's a loving. Okay, I lovingly
No,
complain
you
about.
should complain because kids is hot. Listen, I taught for over 20 years. Kids are worrisome. Some of them is worrisome sometimes, even your own. I think knowing what I know about how children grow and how they develop, I think that's the part of unjuggling that I'm always like, all right, I've studied, applied behavioral analysis and child development and like restorative practices. So I'm like, okay, I know that I need to ensure that I'm giving space for your voice, but at the same time, I know that you need boundaries, but you need freedoms, but it's like all of
All
these
the
things
things.
I'm holding simultaneously. And then I'm like, okay, but you also need to be you and you need to be allowed to make mistakes, but not too many mistakes, but enough mistakes. And so there's this like strange balance or lack of balance that I have with how much
Yeah.
freedom and autonomy and responsibility should I give you and how much should I not? And as a parent, you're always like asking like your peers, "Hey, my kid did this. What would you do or what did you do when your kid this and have you experienced this?"
Yeah.
And I have like a really like this pendulum of friends that I have and I have kids in my children's life whose parents are like super lax and almost enabling. They
Mm-hmm.
have no
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, they have no boundaries, they have no nothing. And then I have the exact extreme polar opposite where the children have no life. They can do nothing except sit down, stand up and be quiet and that's
Yeah.
it. And so just trying to navigate what that looks like for this age and at this stage, knowing that I have so many different ages and I have boys and girls, and they're very different, very,
Very
very,
different.
very different. And they each have their own personalities. So
Yeah.
it's hard because I want to honor who they are and who God is calling and creating them to be, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I'm like, "Oh, I know where that leads to because I'm still working with that. So let me let me try to help you." And they're like, "No, I got it." And I'm like, "No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Actually, you
Yeah.
don't." And so trying to help them understand that you all the bad and good parts of you, they come from me and your dad.
Mm.
And so we want to celebrate the good parts and we want to temper the not so great parts. And then other parts we're like, all right, we don't know where this leads for you specifically. So how much of this should we encourage and invest in? So it's a lot of juggling, a lot. My kid
It
wanted to do
is.
sports, and then he was like, I don't like sports, and then he's like, I like sports again. I'm like, you got to make up your mind because I bought a whole bunch of football equipment that I can't take back, and now you want to do lacrosse? That's expensive too. He's like, oh, soccer. I was like, soccer, shorts, shirt, a ball, cleats. Okay, we could do that.
I can do
That
that.
sounds
I can do that.
reasonable. And then they're like, oh, we're going to tournaments. Okay, now you got to quit.
No, right?
No.
Oh, you've hit okay, Dre, you have hit on so many things, and I'm so grateful, like, that just how much you can bring to the table, so thank you for that. Let's, like okay, something that's kinda jumping out at me right now is, like, this whole our social friends, because that's something I know I navigate that just as much, where it's like, you're trying to honor I know my children are feisty, man. I've got my little girl, she is feisty, wild. I get text messages during the middle of the day, like when she's home from preschool, from the other neighbors because she's out in the yard singing her, living her best life and serenading the whole neighborhood at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and you're right, and you don't want to stop that. At the same time, like I don't see any of her other friends doing the same thing, and so you're like, okay, but this is really unique and special. But then well, how do I navigate it? And you see the polar opposites. You've got the kids, like you said, If you got the kids who have all the freedom in the world, but sometimes with that freedom, I know for me, I guess I'll speak. I recognize that sometimes with all the freedom in the world, I recognize that these kids also really appreciate when there's some structure and there are rules in my home that are enforced. If you're here, that applies to everybody. I see how they appreciate that as much as, again, then you see the opposite. So like, what does it kind of look like in your home with your kids as you're trying to navigate like the other social relationships like that they have and that you have as parents?
Yeah. So this past weekend, we went down to the Bloom event with Fit Press to celebrate before she knew Jesus. If you don't have it, you should go get it like today. And so in that, they were very adamant about us bringing our daughters. They're like, we're gonna have mother and daughter time. It's gonna be fantastic. And I was like, I've never traveled with just a child. Like,
Ooh.
I've had a husband and a child. I've had all the childs and the husband, never just the child. I've even taken 2 children, never one. So I was like, what does that look like? Taking one child?
What
Ha-
does that look like?
How are the others not going to be jealous? I'd be jealous. Why does the
Yeah.
one child get? And I have 2 daughters. How do I rock paper scissors? Who goes? Like, like, and so just being super transparent, I told my younger daughter, I said, listen, it's difficult for me to trust you in the home. I don't feel safe taking you across state lines. I said there will be moments where I will need to be working, right? Like I'm emceeing the event. I'm on a stage, I'm behind a microphone. I won't be able to see you at every moment, and I need to trust that you're going to make good choices. And so she's me. She's a little rebellious and spunky, and so I'm like, this might sound like not the greatest thing that you've ever going to hear me say, but I need to trust you in this home in order for me to take you outside of this home. And I don't think those conversations are had in my children's friends' homes where like they're being
Mhm.
super transparent with them. They're like, oh no, I said no and no should be enough. And I know that's how I grew up. But at the age that she is, she needs to understand like there are consequences to your behavior. Your choices
Yeah.
have consequences.
Yes.
And if
It's
she
so you and I, we have the same, we I'm not shocked to hear this necessarily. We have the same approach with the trusting and how it starts. I mean, we're constantly telling our kids that it starts here. Like the way that you interact with mommy and daddy, the way that you even act with your brother or your sister. Like, are you being kind? Are you showing that you can be trustworthy? If you say you are going to someone's house and instead you go up to the cul-de-sac, literally this happened the last 2 nights. If you didn't go where you said you were going to go, that's a problem. And it was like, the first night was like, hey, it looks like you guys aren't where you said you were supposed to be. Come back home now, immediately. You're done playing. And I kid you not. You better believe the youngest one did the same exact thing the next day. And you're like, and so those conversations like you weren't, it's a safety thing. This isn't a mom and dad hate you thing. It's a safety thing. It's a trust thing. And I don't know. I mean, to your point about like, well, I wonder the conversations that are being had in others' homes, there, there are pieces of me that feel like in others' homes, maybe it wouldn't be made into such a big deal. And then there's that little like mom voice inside my head that's like, okay, really, they're safe. Literally, it was 2 houses away from where they said they were going to be. Are you making this a big deal? And it is. It's like that constant back and forth with it. But I would say, yeah, more times than not in our home, things are made to be big deals. Um, and that's right. Like that's just a parenting style.
And so I think you also have to give yourself grace because, I mean, not to take a really wild turn here, but child abduction is a real thing. Like child trafficking is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
So we are right. Like they're gifts. I don't leave my car out with keys in ignition, ready for someone to come take it, windows down, doors open. You know what I mean? Like, if we protect these eh, perishable things to the extent that we do, right, with the housing system, security, all the things,
Uh-huh.
and then we allow our children just to roam freely, like, I don't know, like there has to be a balance. And so that's why I said, like, that's the space where I'm juggling right now.
Yeah.
And we went, my younger daughter, she was upset, and we came back, and she was fine. She's resilient. She got over it for that time. And I'm like, listen, there are things that you do here, and then she doesn't do those things at school, right? Like when she's at school,
Uh-huh.
she does, like, and so even when we were away, a couple of the women, they were like, she's very vocal. Like my daughter, she's very vocal. Like you don't have to wonder what's on her mind. She's gonna tell you. And they're like, she's so you. I'm like, she is, because she's from me, but she's not disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
so she understands boundaries, and so she'll take something without asking. And if you say, "Hey, that's not cool. You need to ask before you take something." She's like, "Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Sorry." You actually, she'll accountability, sorry. And then she's like, she'll process, "Oh, that's not something that's liked. So
Yep.
I can't do that here." Right? Like she'll make
Yeah.
those inferences. And so I think, no, don't let your kids go hang out in the cul-de-sac if they told you they was going somewhere else.
Oh,
Um,
oh, thanks. Oh, thanks. And I think it was a wise choice for you to not bring the youngest for that, for all the reasons you said. Okay, so that's kind of like the social circles. Now, you had mentioned that you've had a big life change in the last few months. And so what has that looked like in regards to like inside your home with your children? What are some of the shifts maybe you've seen from going from being working mama outside of the home majority of the time to now you're working mama inside the home on your own entrepreneurial journey, and what does that look like from that parenting and bringing the kids with you type standpoint?
I think, and even just being able to take my daughter to see, like, this is what mommy does. And that was one of the things that my husband, we decided to do, like midway through our business, because we have a business together, and this is a separate business that I'm running, right? And so it's like I'm managing two businesses, and I was doing that in addition to my full-time job, right, with the four kids. Just, it was a lot. It was too much. And so I said, okay, if I have to release something, I'm going to release building someone else's vision, and I'm just going to hold on to the things that God has put on my heart to build. And so what it
Mhm.
looks like now is being able to take my daughter on trips so she can interact with other young people who are just as in love with Jesus, whose mommies are just as in love with Jesus as hers is. And for her to see, like, oh, mommy's not the only one. Because in her mind, like when she speaks to other people about me, like if I ever have any issues with my confidence, or if I'm like, oh, woe is me, I need to go talk to my little daughter, because she swears I'm rich. She swears, she's like, mommy's famous. She's like, you don't know mommy famous. What you talking about? Like, she writes books.
Aw.
She's on TV. What you talking? My mama's famous. And I'm like, from your mouth to God's ears, baby. From your mouth
Yeah.
to God's ears. Um, but that's how she sees me. And for her to be able to see other mommies like that, mommies that she sees on TV, right? Like she
It's
got to hang
powerful.
out with Tamara's daughter and with Rebecca's daughter. And so she's like, oh, that's the lady from the TV. I'm like, yes, it's called YouTube. Yes, it's on the TV. Um, and for her to be able to see, like, oh, other mommies do this too, other mommies bring their daughters too. And so she got to hang out with those kids. It looks like me being intentional with the way
Mhm.
that I
Mhm.
I steward my kids, and being intentional about the things that I expose them to. Like one of the first things I did when I came home, when I wasn't working, right, for other people and I was working for us, I was like, "Oh, what? Y'all watch this?" "Oh, no, absolutely not." So all these different like streaming platforms and services were removed from every TV in this home. I'm like, "Oh, no, that we're not doing that. We're not
Mhm.
encouraging that. We're not entertaining that." But it's helped me be a lot more vigilant about guarding their little hearts, right?
Mm.
And then the timing. they love when I was sick when I was working because mommy would always,
Oh.
like, put them on the bus. And then when I would get well, it would break my heart because I'm like, well, I'm well, but now you're sick. Right? Like now you're
Yeah.
sad. Now you're... And so the first time I stayed home, they were like, "Are you sick?" I said, "No." I said,
Oh.
Mommy left her job." And they were like, "Forever?" I said, "Yeah." And my daughter, she's like, "Wait, how you gonna pay for stuff?"
The wheels start turning, right? They're like, wait a second. You said we had to work to make money to
Right.
uh-huh.
And so I was like,
Uh-huh.
"No, I work here. I work for me and daddy's business and I'm building my own thing." And they're like, "So we still have money?" I'm like, "Yes, we still have money." And then so my son goes, "Yes." And I'm like, "Why are you so excited?" He's like, "Cause like now you'll be home when I leave for school."
Oh.
Because I used to have to leave before he left and he got to the bus at 7 in the morning. And so every morning he's like, "You're not here." And then my kids were like, I had to drop them to someone else's house to put them on the bus because I
Yeah.
have to again be at work. I'm a teacher. I was like, as a teacher, like I have to be there before the kids get there. And so being able to put them on the bus and like receive them when they get home from the bus every day, like they run off the bus, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." Like I'm just like, all right, we yeah, I walked away from six figures because teachers in New York, we
Mhm.
get paid pretty well. Um, Six figures and a delicious pension that is almost like never ending, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I would trade it all again in a heartbeat just
Mm.
to be home for those interactions because those are the things that's gonna stick with them.
It is. It is. Now, before you've like been able to really relish in and experience this gift, were you aware of that? Like, was there a piece of you that realized that you were like missing out on bus drop off and pickup time, or did you become aware as you started receiving this gift?
I think um so my mom's an educator. She's been so for like 45 years. And so when I was younger, I never saw her. Like she worked at daycare.
Mhm.
So have you ever dropped your child off at daycare and you're like, I need a daycare that's open at 6:30. Be mindful that someone had to be there at 6 in order
Yeah.
for you to drop off your kid at 6:30. And so
Yeah.
my mom was that one who was there at the daycare 6:30, opening up, and my mom has the best work ethic. And so if a kid was being picked up late or if someone else needed to go, she would always volunteer. Now, mind you, my mom has been a mom since she was 15.
Mhm.
And so she understood, like, hey, I have a community, I have a support system. So if I need some help, like my mom's the youngest of 13 kids, she's like, I have tons of support. This parent might not. And so my mom would always volunteer to stay late. She got compensated, but she would stay late. She would come early because she's like, I know how much of a hardship it is when there's no one to watch your child. And so that's been literally, I feel like that's her, like her ministry. Like she's been
It
in there. And so while that is
is.
such a gift for
Yes.
me, I'm like, okay, you're not home when I wake up. You're not home when I go to sleep. When do I see you? Like, saying it
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
just really feeling like abandoned, feeling alone, feeling uncared about and for. My mom's like, I worked all that time so that I could provide you with a better life. And so by the time I was like
Mhm.
8, 9, like we moved out of the hood. I'm from the inner cities of Chicago, like the hood, not the suburb, the hood.
The hood.
Yeah, like, had my mom not had so many siblings, well, at one point, they did live in the projects, but by the time I came around, they had bought a house, and they lived next door to my grandmother's sister, who also was, like, raising generations of people, and then they lived down the street from the man who became became my father, who also had generations. And so you have all these migrants from the South who moved up north and bought a home, and you just raised everybody. Like everyone was raised in
Yeah.
this house. And so when we moved to the suburbs, my mom was like, I worked all that time so that you would like be able to be provided for properly. Like all the advantages, the clubs you were able to be on, the right, the like I joined speech when I was in ninth grade. She's like, had we not moved, you wouldn't have had that opportunity. You wouldn't be the orator that you are now. It's because like I made those sacrifices. And yeah, as a child, you're like, wow, all I know is that you're not here and I don't like it.
100%.
And so to speed this story up, my daughter said something and it reminded me of that feeling that I had growing up about my mom never being home. And I was like, ouch. Oh, I'm doing to you what my mom, okay. And even though in my mind I'm like, well, teaching's a great gig because I get summers off and the times that you're off,
Uh-huh.
I'm off. And it's not that and like my mind was like, oh, well, at least I'm not working 9 to 5 and yeah, over and I have to work on the weekend. Like I get the weekends off. I was like, this is a pretty decent gig to raise
Yeah.
children. And my children were like, but you're not home. And then my youngest daughter, she's like, the other parents drop their kids off and pick them up from school.
Eeks.
And I was like, well,
Okay.
it's a good thing that you're not in another parent's
Yep.
home
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because you get
Uh-huh.
to ride the bus. It's like, you get to go
Yeah.
on the yellow bus every day. You get to experience a bus ride, and you get to see new sights if he takes a different route. Like I'm just trying to like spin this, and I was like, wow. And so I would race home
To get
from
home.
work some days, like on Fridays. I was like, I could at least pick you up on
I
a
gotta
Friday. And then it became like all these different negotiations, like, oh, at least I can do this, at least. And I'm like, as a parent, like when I think about the greatest parent of all, I think about God. And I'm like, if even a bad father gives his child bread instead of a snake, scripture I'm talking about,
mm,
like how much more should I be giving mine? And this is in
mm,
no way to like throw shade at anyone who's in the situation where you have to work a 9 to 5 and you're not able to
correct.
be there. Um, but I was like, what does it look like for me to be home?
Ooh, that was you got curious.
Yeah, I
What does
said,
it look like for me to
what
be
does it
home?
look like for me not to work full time? And so that's when really I started investing in coaching and getting mentorship and joining masterminds. I'm like, I need to learn how to grow a business. I started taking online courses. I had taken some of them during COVID because they were free or like
Yeah.
low cost. I was like, the University of London is giving business classes. Yes, sign me up. Like, and I took them and I have like capstone projects from Wharton School of Business. Like I did
Wow.
all this stuff to grow in business. And then I went right back to the classroom after COVID.
Uh, uh-huh. Well,
And I was
because
like,
that's human nature, like to fall back into our patterns and two, especially when we've been negotiating with ourselves long enough about, okay, well, at least I do this, which means that, well, at least this. And those are the same like negotiations that literally, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working in corporate, where you're working in education, wherever, like we're constantly making negotiations with ourselves, we're constantly making negotiations with our families, with our maker. Like we're in constant negotiations all day long until we start getting to a point where we're like, you know what? Here's my non-negotiable.
and I think for me, I didn't have enough of those. I didn't
Mm,
have non-negotiables. And so that was, I think that was the ripple that started this like, okay, what does it look like? How do I do this? What will fund me? What are my offerings, right? Like what am I bringing into the
oh,
world
dude,
to support, right? I'm like, I don't know if I can replace six figures.
yeah,
We gonna try, but like,
it's
what do
scary.
I need at least? And so each year we went from deficit to then surplus, And we like $12,000. I was like, I made $12,000 in a business. Yes, this is great. And I was like, but I can't live off that.
$12,000. It's great, but I can't live off $12,000.
And then the next year, I think we made 24, and I was like, just for getting closer. I was like, just give me 7 more years.
At this rate, plus 7. Yeah.
And then the next year, this past year, we made 37,000.
See.
And I was like, you know what? I did some math. I said 37,000. I could pay mortgage every month at least with 37,000.
There you go.
We can't do nothing else, but we can pay for mortgage.
But we got the minimum.
And so I was like, you know what? Let's get her done. Let's see what happens. And so I had already been playing with the idea, and then I heard you share your testimony in New York at the Joyful Entrepreneur book launch. And I was like, okay. Why did she say all that? She's in my brain. God, why did you send this lady here? Like,
yeah, why did you send this lady from Denver, Colorado to New York City? What the heck are we actually doing here?
And I was just like, okay, God, I needed someone to tell me that what I was thinking wasn't crazy. I needed someone who did it before, who went ahead of me, who can leave breadcrumbs, or at least like hold my hand. And then God sent me you. And so yeah, so excited.
I'm so proud of you. Your journey is so inspiring.
The thought then became like activation. Like when I heard your story, I was like, okay. And I told my husband on the way home, I was like, babe, I'm quitting. He was like, when? Right? Not now. I was like, no, not before Christmas.
We'll wait until after.
I was like, but definitely after. He's like, June? I said, maybe before. And he's like, how much before? And so we looked at the numbers, and I was like, I think we'd be good February. And so did what I needed to do, looked at like, how much money do I have in savings? How much money do I have in emergency fund, 401k? Like what do all the numbers look like? And I was like, all right, I'm going to give myself a 6-month runway. And that's it. That's the only runway we've got, 6 months. I said, you need to figure it out in 6 months because the money's running dry.
Yeah.
After 6 months, if you don't figure it out. And for me, like, I needed that figure it out pressure. I needed that.
Yeah.
And so I was just sharing this with another group. I said I had a client when I left my job. I had one book writing client. So my offering, my gift is helping people walk through their story. And most of them turn it into published work. Some of them just need their story out. They need to release it. And so it's really story work. And so I had one client, and then right after I left my job, she was like, I'm so proud of you. That is so amazing. I'm like, thank you so much. She's like, yeah, I'm afraid of my story. I don't want to work with you anymore. I was like, whoa.
I mean, our stories, yes, our stories absolutely can be terrifying to face. That's a thing.
And so I was like, what did I do? She's like, no. It's not you. She's like, I'm afraid of what's going to happen after I share it. We finished her book. Her book is done.
Wow.
And she's definitely afraid to share it. And I was like, okay, but if we're not working together, that means you're not paying me. And if you're not paying me, then who's paying me?
Who's paying me? Who is paying? How do I make money?
and then I got to experience what manna from heaven looked like. I got to experience it because I got a letter, and it said, hey, you overpaid on your student loans. Never have I ever overpaid on my student loans. And they were like, here's a couple thousand. I was like, yes, mortgage. It's just like, and then that just kept happening. And my husband was like, well, you said that if you left your job, if we got tight on money, you would sell the car. And I was like, I surely did. He was like, well, just in case you haven't noticed, money's tight. I was like, I was like, you know what? I'm a woman of my word. So I sold my car. And I was like, yes, mortgage. And so literally it was like, this is what we've been doing. And then God, like at the end, this is within the last couple weeks, God's been like, okay, you didn't go
You're
back to
ready.
your old job. You didn't get a new job. You didn't quit. You didn't give up. All right, here you go.
You have been, yep, you have
You've
been
been faithful with the little.
obediently faithful in your surrender, and everything along the way was, I don't think that it's a test. I don't ever think it's a test. I think it's like that loving nudge, and the way that we get to be molded and prepared in those moments when we make the choice to continue to surrender and to continue to lean in. And I think often that choice is the harder choice. And every single time we make that almost like harder choice, but it's right and it's aligned, it just snowballs into this beautiful gift of abundance that is so wildly beyond the small plan I would have held for myself.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, to bring it back, God is our Father. In the same way that like I had issues with trusting my youngest daughter when she wasn't faithful with the little, I'm like, all right, God, I've been faithful with the little, and it's been a little. Like, I'm like, God, I've been faithful. I'm like, my husband's like, should we like, you know, do I need to take a second job? Do I need to? And I'm like, what happens? What does that look like? And so everything we were like,
What does it look
what does
like?
it look like? Let's pray about it. Let's see what happens. Um, but like in terms of like tithing, I know a lot of people don't talk about this. We never stopped giving to the church.
Yeah.
Like, even with the selling of the car, even at that point, like we are still giving to the church. And this is not the shout out to prosperity gospel. I don't believe in that. I believe that if you're faithful with a little and you trust God with it, that He will multiply it. Like,
Yes.
I firmly believe that Jesus is a multiplier, right? He did it with the two fish and the loaves, right? eh, he's always in the business of multiplying.
I
He can,
believe he asks us to multiply too. Like that's one way that we get to be like molded into and be like him, is that we get the opportunity to multiply when we lean into like our deep purpose and our gifts and our superpower. That's what happens. Multiplication tenfold.
yeah, and so went from quitting my job about 3-4 months ago and having one client and then having no client to now having 6 clients and a contract to work over the summer, and just got off a call to do a summer writing program. Um, and so the floodgates are opening,
It's so good.
and it's not even because I'm hustling. It's just because like I'm showing up and I'm telling my story. Like, I'm showing up and I'm serving. I'm showing
Yes.
up and I'm sharing, right? I'm not hustling anymore. And when I stopped hustling, that's when God was like, okay, I can I can trust you now. Like, you trust me? Okay, good. I trust you too. Here.
I I think
Right?
it's partly too, like, because when we're so busy hustling, there ain't no room for nothing else. And so, like, we have to this and like that was my experience. Like I was hustling, 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 hustling. There was no room for this opportunity. There was, even if doors were flying open around me, I was too busy hustling. I couldn't even see them.
Yep.
Couldn't even see them until I was like, okay, message received loud and clear. I'm supposed to stop. Just stop. Like it was just so loud. It was like, stop. You're supposed to quit. You're
Mm,
done. You're done on this path. It's no longer serving you. It's no longer serving me, is what like it was like no longer serving him in the capacity that he he had for me. And that was part of it.
I think that part, often we don't stop long enough to like figure out if something is serving us or not,
Mm-hmm.
because we've become accustomed to serving it.
Oh, totally.
And so you asked me what did I want to promote. I did
My
finish a book. I doubt if it's going to be out by the time this airs, but
hey, you
I
never
wrote a,
know when someone's listening.
you never
You never
know.
know
You
when someone's
never
listening.
know. So
See?
I did finish a publication called the Unhustlers Manifesto. Yeah, see, this is
This
news
is
to
the
you
first time
too.
I'm hearing about this.
I
You see my
know.
shocked face? You see my shocked face? I love this. Tell me more.
So the Unhustlers Manifesto is literally a manual to help people to pick up rest and let go of the religion of work.
Mm.
And so I'm sharing through the messy middle, right? I'm not sharing like, oh, I've overcome and I'm on the other side. I'm saying, okay, this is the things that I realized when I stopped long enough that God was trying to like pull out of me and he was trying to make me aware of. He's like, these things are hurting your relationships, not just with me, but like your kids, your husband, like all the things you have to stop. And it wasn't until I stopped the work that like I was able to see like all these other areas. I was like, oh, wow. Like my husband and I love him. He's fantastic, amazing, great. But there are areas that I wasn't noticing, that I wasn't honoring God in the way that I was treating my husband, if that makes sense.
That's why it does. That's why I asked you that question about like, were you aware of missing out on bus time before you actually made the choice, like that, or wasn't, or was it until afterwards that you were like, oh my gosh, I had no idea? Because just like what you're saying, there were so many things. There were so many things in my life that I had no idea I was missing out on. And before, when I was hustling, it was good. I was not burnt out from my work. That's not why I left.
Nope.
Nope. I loved my job. I loved my people. I loved my people. I loved the organization, everything.
Yep.
I was happy. I was happy. I had no idea the things that I was missing out on in my marriage, in my raising my beautiful babies, in the other communities, like the beautiful other souls in the planet, in the world. Like Jori, you have been such a guiding light for me. And I would have never been in that room in New York City if I just would have never, like it wasn't. And that obedience, surrender, and the things that you become aware of. So that's, go ahead, keep going on that, because I resonate 100% with it.
So there were some things like the kids, because my kids are right, they're mini me's, so they're verbal. They share thoughts, they share opinions, they share feelings, they share perspectives. My husband was not raised to share all those things. That is not how he's built. He is a worker.
Mm,
He will work until his bones hurt and you will never know. He will take on the brunt of everything. He will suffer in silence. He is such an amazing servant. He's not the greatest communicator.
that's fair. That's
And
fair.
so it wasn't until I paused and I started checking out like, hey, what's going on in our dynamic? And he would share these things and I was like, how long have you felt this way? And then he'd tell me, and I'm like, well, why didn't you say something?
Oh my God.
Like, if I knew that, I would clearly not continue to do that. But you said
Yeah.
that. And so, in my defensiveness, I'm like, but you didn't say anything. So how am I supposed to know? And then the Holy Spirit is like, but you have the gift of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I gave you that gift so that he don't need to actually, the Holy Spirit tells you and you need to listen.
Yeah.
But you've been too busy doing your own thing that you can listen to my promptings. And so I was like, okay, all right, we gotta fix this. So there were some things before, and then there are other things after. And I wouldn't trade anything. And I had to ask myself this question. And this is an offering that I have for anyone who's listening. If you are making a decision, doesn't matter what it is, leaving work, leaving whatever decision, if you feel like you're at a crossroads between what was and what can be. And it's even in relationships. The one question I kept asking myself, and I had to get really gut check honest, was, am I running away from something or am I running to something? Because if I'm running away from something, that's fear based. God's not going to bless that. And so for the 5 years that I was trying to leave my job, like if I counted, like I put in almost over 4,000 applications to jobs.
Wow.
Like I was very diligent in trying to leave my job because I was
Because,
running.
but not big, but because you just felt like you felt a tug that you were supposed to, there was something
No,
different,
I was
or
running away from just the atmosphere. There was a lack of accountability. There was a lack
Mm,
of Jesus. There was a
mm.
lack of leadership at some points. There was a lot of lack, and it bothered my spirit to no end.
It was flat out a space that you had outgrown. Like you could see and acknowledge those things that, while for others who stay stuck in that space, it's because it's still serving them to some degree, whatever that looks like. But for you, you'd outgrown the level of accountability that environment was capable of, that level of leadership that environment was capable of.
Yeah,
And
and it was a lack of like creativity and purpose. Like
mm, mm.
it became so comfortable, like
Mhm.
too comfortable,
Uh-huh.
like no more growth comfortable. And if I'm not growing, I'm not going.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
learner, and I had become everybody else's teacher, and I was like, no, like what am I learning? Like if this is like some sort of reciprocity, what I'm getting back?
yeah,
Um, and so when I was trying to run, God was like, no, you're not running from anyone, right? Like like Nineveh, like I'm trying to run, you're trying to run. And when I said, okay, God, I'm not going to run. I'm going to wait till I'm called. And I had this conversation 2023 December. And I said, I need to be called. And I was sitting across from my success coach, and she's like, what do you mean called? I said, I need to be called. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And she's like, well, what's going to be different a year from now? And I was like, she's like, if you change, if nothing changes, if you don't change, nothing changes. And I said, okay, so what needs to change? And then she had me like write down the things that light me up, the things that set me on fire, the things that bring me joy, the things that I feel like I'm great at, my strengths, like all these things. And so I sat and I worked through these things. I was like, I'm a really good speaker. I'm a really good trainer. I think I'm pretty good at helping people like figure out what's going on with them and then like be able to
mhm,
release that through some form of written word. Or I said, I think I'm really good at that. She's like, and so what do you want to do with that? Now that you know, what are you going to do with it? And so there was this path, and I was like, all right, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to somebody else who has what I want.
yep, yep,
And so I called a friend, and she's been writing for almost 20 years. Um,
wow,
she didn't get her first book deal to 13 years after she started writing.
okay,
She waited 13 years before her first book deal, and she kept writing for 13 years. She just kept writing. And so I called her and she's like, hey, here's what you need to do. You need to go make some other writing friends. You need to pitch to a publisher. And she was telling me all these things. I was like, okay. This is a lot. I got to write this stuff down. And so I went to my first conference in West Virginia, offer her recommendation. And then the next thing I did was I signed up to be an author with Fit Press. I pitched my book, right? And I got more than enough was in that.
yeah,
And I was like, all right,
beautiful,
what else we doing? They're like, oh, before she knew Jesus. I was like, all right, let's get it. But I asked someone who did it before, hey, how did you do that? And she told me. And so I
yep.
did that thing, right? Like I didn't take the information and sit with it.
Nope, you took action, you activated, you took action.
But from December of 2023, I knew if I don't change, nothing changes.
Mhm,
And so a
mhm,
year from the time that I had that conversation, I met you in November.
Yep.
By December, I put in my letter of resignation.
Ah,
12 months to the date that I had that conversation. I put in my resignation a month after meeting you.
anything can change.
And then I left the following month in January. So I think if I can offer anyone anything, those two questions, they have been transformative. If am I running away from something or am I running to something?
Yeah.
Do I feel called? And I absolutely feel called.
Ooh, yeah.
And the
Very much
universe
so.
is affirming this calling by putting me in community with other truth tellers, with other storytellers, to do this work. Story excavation is a tough task,
It is a
and
tough task.
there need to be more people out there because there's so many stories that we tell ourselves, and the longer that it stays in here, and we
Yeah.
ruminate on these things, like I'm learning that there's so much untruth.
So much untruth, right? Like we fill in the gaps, and unfortunately, like as we grow older too, our memory like really starts deceiving us so badly.
So many false narratives. I'm learning we share with ourselves, and we put them on repeat, and it becomes this broken record to the point of, man, I'm no good, or I'm bad at this,
Mhm.
or they hate me, or I'll never. Like, okay, who told you that?
Yeah. You.
Right, who
Yourself.
told you that?
Like, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of my first questions every time someone tells me, I'm like, who told you that?
Who told you that?
Or like, I
Mhm.
can't leave my job. I can't make it as an entrepreneur. I can't. Who
Who told
told
you
you
that?
that?
100%.
Who
Mhm.
told you that? Because
Mhm.
these all sound like lies to me. Who told you that? And so being a person that really understands how much how much our own story has the power to unlock us and to set us free.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, once I learned how to do it for me, I was like, well, let me try it again. And so that's why there's 10 books. Because after I told the story the first time, and I was like, wait, I helped how many people? I'm gonna do this again. And
I
I was
can do this.
literally, I was just like, wait, if this story helps you, I'm gonna tell this story because I've never told this story. This help. Okay, well then we're gonna tell this. And literally every time I tell my story, whether it's in a written book, whether it's on a stage, whether it's on a podcast, right? Um, Someone's like, "Oh, that helped me. Thank you." I'm like, "All
Mhm.
right, well, all right, God, what else we doing?
Go again.
What we
Let's go
doing?"
again.
And so now
Yeah.
to be able to hold space for people to walk them through their story so that they can tell it and have that same impact and feel like, wow, like the thing that I had been so ashamed to share is the very thing that set this other person free.
Yeah. It's your
Wow.
superpower. How
Yeah.
did you so how do you get to that point though? Because I'm thinking of like I'm thinking about like that very first client and like how and the lies that we tell ourselves, like how fearful we are of our stories. And one of the things, like you said, you have absolutely unjuggled is like owning your story. Like there isn't fear in it. In fact, you've been able to recognize over and over and over again the power in a story. So how do you help someone go from like that fearful place that they're almost fearful of their story to this place where like you're actually really truly internalizing that your story is what sets you free?
So I was explaining to someone, I was like, I think probably my services are the cheapest form of therapy you're ever going to come by. Because it's inner child work. It's all the things that you've lied to yourself about over the years. And once you reframe it, right? So okay, background. I'm not a licensed therapist.
Full disclaimer here. Full disclaimer. Neither am I, everybody. Like, we just so you know.
I'm not. Have I been trained in neurolinguistics pathology? Yes. Have I been trained in applied behavioral analysis? Yes, but this was from my time in education. When you
Ah,
work with nonverbal students, you have to understand how to communicate, all the ways to communicate. And so that training set me up to be able to do this work. So although I was a storyteller my entire life, it wasn't until I started gaining this skill set of being able to then like pick apart my own story and saying, wait, that actually never happened. Wait, that
Mm.
did happen. Oh my gosh, that's why I do this. And really understanding like what is the root cause of all the things, like all of my behaviors. There's a root to it. And so helping people see like, hey, I understand you're afraid, but here's what's at stake. Here's what's at stake if you don't figure it out. Here's what's at stake if you don't figure out this honest part of your story. And here's what's at stake if you don't share it. Right? And so
Yeah.
when you reframe things like that, like, hey, you actually have the power to like empower yourself. Like it doesn't need to be this outside thing. It doesn't, right? It doesn't need to be this external motivator, like that intrinsic factor of you excavating your story and
Mhm.
sifting through it. Right. When we're talking about like a digger, like we're going deep and then we're breaking stuff up and we're shaking it and like, all right, what's true?
Yeah.
What's true
Yep.
and what's not. And so the things that are true, they're gonna stay. Those are the things that we still have after we've shaken the dirt loose, after we've let all that thing that don't serve us, like when we let it go, the thing we're left with is truth. And now what can we do with this truth? Now we have truth. Now what can we do? Like, oh my gosh, well, if that thing's not true, and I've been doing this all this time, I can make different choices.
You can make different choices. You can choose a different truth. You can choose a different life. You can choose a different path.
That part, I'm in control of my life because I'm in control of my choices.
Ooh, yep.
And that part, they're like, all right, I get it now. Okay.
I'm
All
in.
right. So if I figure out my truth, then I can figure out what to do with my truth.
Sure can.
And I'm like, yes. They're like, so I have choices. You sure do.
Sure do. You
They're like,
sure do.
what? And like the idea that they have choices, although it's right, I'm making light of it, but for a lot of people,
It
they've conditioned themselves to believe they have no choices, that they have no
correct.
power, and that they are left to the devices of everyone else around them.
Correct. It's absolutely. It's all the things that like we should on ourselves. I think Shelley Paxton says that all the time. We're like, oh, what are all the things we should do? You should do this. You have to go to work. You have to be this kind of a parent. You have to, you should. And so we're so busy going, oh, well, I should. They are, I should, that we just, again, it's like we get in that groove. We totally forget the amount of choice that we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Kim, as a coach I had, Kim, she used to say, stop shitting on yourself.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I was like, yes, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't. She's like, stop shitting on
Stop.
yourself. I don't like it.
Stop doing
I don't like it. She's like,
it. Stop doing that.
don't smell good, don't look good on you. Stop shitting on yourself. I
So
was
good.
like, oh, you are accurate. Yes.
Yes.
So I
It's
think
accurate.
doing it for yourself first gives you the ability to help someone else do it as well.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
and I work with a lot of different types of authors. Like some people, they're using like their educational background, some are using like personal experiences, some are using fictional characters just so that they can market it to a younger demographic, right? And it was after my first talk that someone came up to me and was like, you shared your story in a podcast. I said, yes. She said, and then you transcribed the podcast? I said, yes. She says, and then you turned it into a book? I said, yes.
Yeah.
She says, and then you published it? Yes.
Correct.
She's like, you did it yourself? I said, yes. She's like, and now you're talking on stages to other people about your story? I said, yes. She says, where do I sign?
The mind blown,
Brittany,
right?
Brittany, I had no service. I had no coaching program. I had no nothing. I was
That's how
just
you know.
showing up, sharing my story. And she was like, you have to teach me how to do this. And I was like,
That's how you know.
I don't know. She was like, aren't you a teacher? I was like, actually.
Well, if you come to think of it, yes, I teach. I
She's like,
do.
"You don't have
Uh-huh.
a curriculum for this?" I was like, "Well, actually."
I will. You give me 48 hours. I will.
No, but that was the thing, like, I knew what I did
Yeah.
because I wrote down everything. I knew what I did. I was like, "Oh, so this is what they mean by, like, framework?" It was just like
And
and I was
if
like,
you got
"Oh,
the
yeah."
framework, you can sell it.
I was like,
Yep.
"I forgot. That's what I learned in the business classes." Like, I was so like, "Oh, wait, so I have to give you, like, a
Yeah.
number, right? Like a price?" Like, I was just my brain was like,
Full
"Wait."
circle.
I was like, "You know what? How about you think about it and I think about it, and then we'll talk on Saturday." And she's like,
You know
"Okay."
how much this is hurting my soul right now, right? Like the
But
business part of me is dying as you were describing
but
it.
I again, she asked me after I got off of a stage. I was like, "Bro, I'm signing books. Like, ain't nobody like I didn't
Books.
pitch." I was like, "I didn't pitch to anybody. I'm just signing books." And she's like, "Can I be your client?" I was like, "I don't even know what that is. I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about?"
Uh, but that okay, so that like that's how it all started. So now you've got the Unhustlers Manifesto that's in the works, that's coming soon. Everybody keep your eyes, ears on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, you also are running this incredible workshop. It's a workshop mastermind. Like what would you classify it as? Because you're doing it monthly,
It's
and
a
folks have
master
got to
class.
show up.
It's a master
It's a
class.
mastermind.
So what a lot of people they don't do things because they don't know that they can. Um
Mm,
and so it's really just a master class to give people permission and let them know like, hey, if you choose to be an author, be prepared for these things. Here is how you write a story. Here is the different ways that you can publish your story. After you publish your story, here's a breakdown of how you're going to get paid from the story. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I don't want to invest in this thing because like what's the return? Like what's the ROI? And I'm like, okay, just so we're clear, the story itself, releasing that thing, you go to therapy every week
mhm.
and you give this person money and you're working through your story. And when you're
Yeah.
done, you got nothing to show for it.
Yeah. And if you actually release your story fully, not just sharing it with a confidant, okay, but when you like really truly not only can release it but own it, there's like an ownership piece to it, an embracing of it, a gratitude piece to it. Like when you can do all of those things, which I know that's like all of those things, that's exactly what you help people do when you say like really holding space for their story. That's what happens. The the unlocking that happens, the freedom that happens, the power. All of a sudden, you realize that you have the power to empower yourself. I loved how you said that earlier. Yeah, beautiful.
And
Okay,
so,
how do folks? Oh, go ahead.
no, no, no. So when you release something, right? Like, here's my first book. Okay.
Okay,
I have it. It's my story. I let it go.
let it go.
That's the power of putting something in a book. You literally get to release it and let it go.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
That's what I did.
it is such a freeing activity and it's such an activator
Yeah,
to
it
give
is.
your book away, to say, this is my story. This is the thing that I've been carrying, the thing that may have been holding me back for so long. Take this here. I know it's going to bless you here.
Yeah,
Now,
it it
if there's an exchange of money on the other end, great. If not, still, you got to give it away.
I mean, it's exactly what happened with me. I mean, one of the hardest things, and folks, it could seem so small, like, or it's that little voice inside of ourselves. You're like, well, it wasn't traumatic. It was just you just had to leave a stable job, like, right? Like we do that as a coping mechanism. Hands down, I can own one of the hardest things I ever had to do was walking away from a comfortable, stable, a job that I loved, a dream job. And when I had the opportunity, again, I was not looking for it. God asked me to put down my plan so that I actually had space to pick up his. And I
Hmm.
put it down. I
So
dropped just
good.
like no plan. And then what I realized, I wasn't looking for a book deal. I wasn't looking for a book deal. I wasn't looking to write a book. I wasn't even looking to share my story or the turmoil I put myself through fighting and negotiating with the Lord over a year and a half of knowing I was supposed to leave, but I didn't want to, couldn't. And 30 days after closing a chapter and actually creating space, 30 days after my last day in corporate, I had a book deal. One I didn't ask for, one I didn't think I even needed, one I didn't, all of these things. And all of a sudden, I find myself, not only do I have a book deal, but congratulations, all of the other authors in this anthology have completed their portion, and you need to have yours done in the next 2 weeks. What? I wasn't even planning on this. Is crazy. So I sat down, and it took me just a couple days, really truly. It took me a couple days, and the way that my story poured out and how healing that journey was, that thing that I mean, why it was so difficult for me to leave that job. It was a lifetime of perseverance programming. It wasn't just one small moment in time of quitting my job. No, that was the pin in that was the head. So it was this lifetime of perseverance program, this lifetime of standards that I put on myself that didn't want I didn't even want to live that kind of a life. Like all of these things I didn't even realize I needed to release. And sure enough, it comes out in the pages of a book, and it's been the most beautiful blessing.
Listen, I was blessed by your story,
Mm,
and
thank you.
I heard you speak all of 5 minutes about it. Like you mean like 5 minutes, and I was like, all right, I'm quitting.
That's
Who do I talk to
amazing.
about this? It's like who do I talk? Like God and your husband, and then who else do I talk to about this? Because but
Well,
that is the power of storytelling.
yes. Yes. That exactly, your story was given to you for a reason, for a purpose, and you owe it to your maker above to share it authentically, and to embrace even the not fun parts of it, because the not fun parts of it, the painful parts, the traumatic parts, like they were meant for the story, your story, as much as the joyful parts were. And only he can only use your story if you're willing to show up and actually share it. And that was my experience. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, Jory, I just the work you're doing, it's such a gift. It's such a gift for anybody who chooses like to work with you and to have these pieces pulled to the surface. So that, and I loved that as you were talking about like the dirt sifting, like you're going in with the excavator, you were breaking up like this mountain of like jagged rock, and it's not fun, and there's pieces of your life that you maybe even kind of really hate, or things like that. It's just this nasty thing, and you go in with this excavator, you just knock down this mountain. All of a sudden these big boulders become these itty bitty tiny fine little pieces of gravel. You're shaking things out, and before you know it, this mountain of a life you don't even love anymore now gets put down into this flat horizontal rock bed. And now you get to build again, and you get to build in the way that you want, with like the beautiful fruits of the things that it doesn't have to be that jagged rock again. So that was one of the visuals that kind of came through as you were talking. Thank
That's
you.
exactly what it is. That
So
literally,
good.
that's exactly what it is. And to see people now, people who are afraid to share, show up, now they're on social media, right? For the first time. Now they're fine with public speaking, right? They're doing workshops in front of strangers. Um, just the growth. The growth has been, I'm just like, thank you, God, that I get to witness it, that I got to play even the smallest part of that person's journey to becoming who you created them to be from the beginning. Um,
Oh,
you know,
so good.
so
It's so good.
yeah,
So good.
the workshop is every month. I do it the last Sunday of every month. It is from 5:30 to 7 o'clock Central. It's 90 minute masterclass called Your Story Matters. And you can find it at jorioneale.com, JORIONEALE. Don't forget off that last E.com. And yeah, just
Awesome. And I'll make sure I put it in the show notes too. So, okay, Jori. So before, I know that this one's been a lengthy episode. And so I so appreciate you like hanging in there with me. I've loved every single second of it. And also, I'm not done with you yet. Okay. Oh, look at her face. She's got oh no. Okay. So there's a couple things that I do with all of my guests at the end of their episode. So it's first thing that comes to mind. Okay. Oh man, she's like moving in her seat. She's anxious. I love it. Every guest gets so anxious here. Okay, so the first thing, there's like three parts here. So the first thing is, part of my story, as you know, is all about like quitting the things that are no longer serving you. So when I say that phrase, quitting the things no longer serving, what comes to mind for you?
teaching.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wait a second. I'm going to challenge you on that. Because you teach. That's part of what you do. You teach.
No, I excavate and I activate. I don't teach.
You don't teach anymore. Okay. So
No.
I love this. The new verbs for the calling, for your vocation, for the work that you do, the new verbs are excavate and activate.
That's
Heck
right.
yes. This is what I'm talking about. You get to make different choices.
Because
Beautiful.
I started teaching book writing, right? And it was still this space of me being the expert and then telling you what to do and how to do it and pulling you along. Now I'm actually like a story midwife. Like I am helping you birth your story. This is yours. You do it your way, your voice, your style, but I'm going to walk with you. So now we're more like co-creators versus me up here and you down there. Like the hierarchy, it didn't feel authentic to like the way that I show up. I show up to empower others, not to lead them along. You know what I mean? Like, so it is now a coming alongside you, right? Because when you hire a building or construction team, you are telling them to build something for you, but you are the one who has to come with the plans and right the materials and how do you want it done, right? So that's what I do. You tell me, hey, these are the things that I like, I want. So then we tear down what has been before, and now we get to build it back up in a way that you like it because it's now your story, right? And so, yeah, no, teaching no longer serves me.
So good. I've got the goosies. Thank you. So good. Okay. All right. Then the second thing I do is so the guest prior leaves a question for the next guest. So sometimes I know who the next guest is going to be. Sometimes I don't. This one I believe is going to be coming from. Let's see if I'm thinking about when your episode will release. Yes. Okay. So Dr. Emily Jacobs, the Empower Mom events, she left you this question. So, what small boundary could you make today that would make a big impact?
Small boundary I can make today that would make a big impact. Not allowing distractions to come in between being fully present with my husband and kids. So not multitasking, but being fully present. So if someone calls, don't answer. Or if I'm on the phone, hang it up before my husband gets in the car when I pick him up from the train, or kids get home from school, finish whatever meeting I got going on and meet them at the door, right? Stuff like that. I think that not being distracted and being fully present.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think because I won't just leave you hanging with just you. I'll answer too. The small boundary that I could make today that would have a big impact. So I'm still dealing with a busted ankle, and I don't always prioritize my physical health, and so I'm in this space where I know how important that is if I don't want a lifetime of hurt. So the small boundary is making sure that I'm taking multiple times a day to just do the minimal bit of PT that I know will have a big impact. So that's where I'm at. Okay. And then the last thing, now you have to leave a question for the next guest. So any question you want, it could be anything. What would be your question for the next guest?
It would be the one that has been so transformative in my life. At this season in life, are you running from something or to something?
Mm-hmm. So good. Okay. And sometimes we end up asking the question maybe we need the most. So you have to answer it now.
Oh, I'm running to something.
Yeah.
I'm running
Yeah.
to a lot. And the things that God is opening up doors and space for now were things that I've crafted websites and companies and curriculum for years ago.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
time.
so God said, I need you to build it now, build it now, build it now, build it now. And I would build it. And then I say, okay, now what do you want me to do with it? He's like, nothing.
Great.
What? What? And
Love
so,
this for me.
yeah, for years, I was just like, all right, I don't know. I feel like nothing with God is a waste, but I was like, that wasn't my idea to do any of that, God. I don't even know why would you, and there's nothing you want to do with it. I don't understand. And so now every time I have a conversation with someone, they're like, oh man, I wish I knew someone who did this.
Huh.
Tell me more. What would this person help you with if you knew someone who did that? Oh, well, I've been trying to do this, or I know someone who needs to do this, or my person was asking about this. And I said, okay, so how would this help you? Like, bottom line, like, well, then I could serve this person. Serve? Cool. Here.
Yep. So good. You are very much so running. Yeah,
And
running
that's it.
towards
I'm just like, how
beautiful
can I be a
purpose.
resource? How can I be a resource? So I'm running to serve. Like, hey, how can, like, Augusta, this is gonna be aired, and I full disclosure, because I already had this conversation with people. Nobody paid me to go down there. I went and did the thing that people pay me to do and didn't get
Yes.
paid.
Yes. And we do that. We do that sometimes. We
Right.
do
And
that.
so I was like, all right, this is my gifting is storytelling. I'm going down there as an orator. I MC the entire event. I'm like, okay, I don't have to get paid. It would be nice. I don't have to get paid for this thing, because guess what? When the opportunity presented itself, I want to say I had a full-time job.
Mm.
And I said, you know what? I have money coming in. No worries. I'll serve.
And sometimes we serve and we don't get a financial reward, and sometimes we serve and we do get a financial reward.
No, the reward that I got was being able to connect with a friend of 20 years. I got to spend one-on-one time with my kid, and I have 4, so that is very rare. Um,
Yeah.
and I got to be in the room when I saw God show up and heal and break chains and move people and activate other people. Like, I saw the hand of God move.
Wow. So good. So good. See, and that's exactly how you know you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And it was a beautiful gift. And they just constantly keep coming when, like I said, when we show up with our yes, when we show up with our yes, when we're obedient with that, when we're faithful, when we surrender, when we steward the beautiful gifts that he has given us. So thank you, Jori. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. I am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our friendship. I'm so grateful for the way that you light up the room, you light up the stage, you light up these stories. I just cannot wait to continue down this journey of life with you. So thank you so much.
Amen. Love you, Brittany.
Amen. I love you too, girl. All right. Until next time, guys. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.